Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But it comes at a price. Samantha Horwitz and John Salerno work with police departments across the country to bring valuable recovery, insight resources, and workshops. A Badge of Honor TV brings those professionals to you so we can come together and revitalize communities through a better understanding of what's at stake and what's required for repair. So take a load off and turn up your TV. It's about to get real.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam, powered by the OBBM Network, and can be found on all your streaming networks and platforms, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts and shows. We are on it. We are growing bigger and better each and every week, thanks to OBBM. So, Sam, how you doing?
Doing great, John. It is, when we have a breath of fresh air here in Texas in July, even if it comes in the form of rain, we are loving it. And it just reminds me just these hot days that we've had. And I was talking to my husband about having to wear, body armor. And I'm like, I just don't miss that in the summer. And it's
what's scary is we're getting into times where even going to the grocery store, it's probably a wise thing to wear body armor. And that's horrible to say.
That it's a different kind of armor at the grocery store these days. But who's not catching a break? And it seems like we're talking about this every week. But our brothers and sisters in New York. Now, we called out. We're going to call it out if you're not doing what you should do. But in this case, what John's going to talk about, and we're going to start with, is just it's getting to the point of absurdity. Like, they just need to have, I don't know, a separate department just called Clean Up the City.
Don't put that into Mondami's head, because tomorrow there'll be some DEI people up there cleaning up the city.
But you'll need to show ID for that.
Yeah. Once again, and we'll get into the NYPD real quick on the mental pressures that all those men and women, God bless them, that are still doing their job in the best way possible. Mondami came out with a thing, and New York was a melting pot of immigration. It always has been, man. With Ellis Island, everybody coming into New York back in the late 20s, migrating to New York the legal way. So they put out a map. It's called the New York City Immigrant Enclaves Map, and it's got all the different locations throughout the city, probably about 40 of them, where immigrant families and it built up those neighborhoods. The most prominent in New York City is going to be the Italians, the Irish, and the Jewish. They actually built that city, into the growing mecca that it is today. And Mondami, in his luxurious ways, failed to recognize those cities, those neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods. And that is a kick in the face to every Italian, every Irish person out there, and every Jewish person out there who, great grandfathers have really put their blood, sweat, and tears, lived through the Depression. But, and he honored all these, Pakistan, Koreatown, and, not that they don't rape, but to forget the three top, that's just a jab at every Italian, every Irishman, and every Jewish citizen, New Yorker, man, who built it. And it just shows the way New York's going. And he's throwing that pressure right out onto the New York City Police Department. He took away the homeless encampment unit. And now in the Post today, it was like 12 or 13 blocks right near the Intrepid Museum, right, where people flock, and they want to honor that big,
America.
Area, America, and there's blocks and blocks looking like California of homeless encampments, because he took the homeless encampment sweep away from New York and put it on some different agency that is obviously not doing their job, and just letting them camp out there. And when people come to visit New York, they see that. You know, it's one thing after another every time you open up the paper and you see. But the main thing is our officers are really battling each and every day. New York is the greatest police department in the world. They're highly trained, but they're not robots, man. And these young officers are trying to do their job, and they're being hit at every turn. They're robots.
Well, it's you know, especially the guys and gals. When I say guys, I mean ladies too. Yeah. That are there and they come in for roll call or however they do it now. Times have changed, and it's like, oh, you're doing the homeless. It's like, what? It's just they walk into work and boom, things change. And you know, not saying that over the years, as technology evolves and things get better with law enforcement, that things are not going to change, but there's a way to lead a city, and certainly it's a trickle down into the way that a department is led. And our guest tonight is no stranger to leadership. In fact, it is the core strength and his core value that if you're lacking it, nothing is going to work. And so without further ado, we want to bring on Deputy Chief Arthur. He goes by Rusty Myers to A Badge of Honor TV. Chief Rusty, welcome to Badge of Honor TV.
Evening, Senator John. Thank you for having me.
You bet. You bet. Hey, before we get to your incredible book, please tell everybody watching and listening on their favorite podcast app a little bit about you and your background.
So I've been in law enforcement for about 31 years. I graduated from military school, the Citadel here in South Carolina, and got a master's at Liberty in the process of that, mostly from my front seat of the car, listening to CDs over and over again. I worked for the City of Charleston Police Department for 23 years, where I made lieutenant. I was one of the only patrol officers promoted to lieutenant. It's pretty rare. And that was my entire career. And then as a joke, I put training as a place I wanted to go when the chief was doing a little shakeup. And I'll be doggone if he didn't put me in training and tell me that he needed a patrol mindset back in the training office. So I did that for about 5 years. We'll talk about the book. And then I ended up at Somerville PD, where I ended up taking over internal affairs for Somerville Police Department. Enjoyed that for a few years. Kind of thought I'd retire from there. And lo and behold, one day the phone rang, and someone who remembered who I was from the City of Charleston had called and said, "Hey, my deputy chief's retiring. If you're interested, why don't you put in?" So I did, and I ended up being a deputy chief, and no one's more amused by that than I am. But it's been a great career. I love it. I don't regret it a minute of it, even the 2-year hiatus that I went into. So
yeah. And
now I'm the deputy chief at South Carolina University, and me and my chief work well together. He's got 50 years in, I've got 31 years in, so a lot of experience between the two of us, and we get along well. So make it.
Not with putting down any other chiefs or any of the cities. What's your perspective on the way 31 years ago, policing was a lot different. When I got on job, I mean, we still had nightsticks and we had to wear a tie and the whole bit. Even the uniform has changed. It is, but as a chief in your position, what's your perspective on the way we police today opposed to 20, 30 years ago? Better, worse, progressive, not like what is your perspective on that?
I think we're better in that we've been trained a lot more in how to deal with like mental illness, and we've got a lot more understanding of why people act the way they do. But then sometimes we're told, "Oh, you need to de-escalate that." Well, de-escalation only works if they want to be de-escalated, So there's a lot of pressure put on officers to not do anything, take care of the problem, just fix it, talk them out of it. And it's tough. It's really tough when you have somebody who just doesn't want to be de-escalated or doesn't want to cooperate, and you actually have to take enforcement action. You better be perfect, because that's what the world expects. They expect you to be perfect every day. And if you're perfect every day, then you're a lot better person than I am.
Yeah, it's like if you're perfect every day, you're on a different plane of existence. And that's the whole thing, is that we, officers, first responders, we are human, and the public are public servants. Notice I said public servants. Hey, mayors. and city council people and everybody. We're human, and we're allowed to have emotions that come with being human, and not being perfect is part of that. And mistakes can be made that, last a lifetime. Certainly can interrupt a career. And Rusty, when we come back from our first break, let's talk about that 2-year hiatus that you had to take. So we'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned.
Talk is cheap when it comes to saving our country. We're not just any cell phone service provider. We're Patriot Mobile. It's not enough to simply talk about values. We live them. Defending life, protecting our First and Second Amendments, and celebrating our military and first responder heroes. We're boots on the ground making a difference. We're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider with nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks and 100% US-based customer service. Join Patriot Mobile today and make an impact every time you use your cell phone.
Hey, it is time to make an impact when you use your cell phone, if you're not already. And I don't mean having an exciting phone call. I mean actually putting your dollars where your values lie. And with Patriot Mobile, you can do just that. Right now, if you go to patriotmobile.com/badge, you'll land on the page where you can fill out the information, and a member of Patriot Mobile will give you a call to set up service. And the best part right now, you get a free month to try it out. Don't want to get online? Go to 972-PATRIOT, use promo code BADGE, again, for a free month of service. Keep your tech or trade it in for the latest and greatest mobile devices that Patriot Mobile offers. And remember the roaming feature, John? How if you went outside of, I don't know, some invisible area, you had to pay roaming charges, right? Well, and that still exists. If you're with one of the big 3 and you go outside that area, you got to switch to roaming. Well, when you put roaming on, cha-ching, 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 that adds up. Exactly. Not with Patriot Mobile. Free roaming all the time because they work with all of the cell towers. So switch to Patriot Mobile now by using promo code BADGE and get a free month of service. That goes for military members, all family members also. So you get a discount on top of the free month. Back to the show.
Always want to save money. Welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam on this Mental Wellness Monday. We're going to change that up a little. And we are our guest, Rusty Myers. 31, before we left, telling us about 31, an amazing police career. And people remember you, made the phone call to bring you in as a deputy chief. But when we left, we were talking about that little 2-year hiatus that you took. Tell us a little about what put you there.
I was in command of a patrol team in downtown Charleston, and we got into a foot pursuit. Just a typical Monday morning. Somebody was peeking in houses, peeking in cars. Officers got in a foot pursuit. FTO lost his rookie. His rookie outran him, as rookies are wont to do. Got into a fight with the guy behind the house, and during the fight, he fell on a garden rake that stabbed him in the arm and the hand. So when the guy got away, he wasn't able to chase him because he was literally stuck to the rake. We thought we'd lost him. I got on scene. My primary concern is that officer who's bleeding, because that's always the commander's concern. Got him with EMS. He's in good spirits. He's laughing about it. And a citizen walks up and says, "Hey, were y'all looking for this guy? I think he went in that house over there." So we go up to the door of the house, and the homeowner happens to walk up at the same time and says, "I just went to the store. I didn't lock my house." Well, lo and behold, the door's locked. So before the officers can stop her, she slips the key in, and she's screaming about her cat. She's worried about her pets. She goes running into the house. The officers go running in behind her because they don't know if the bad guy's in there or not. They run up the stairs. As they run up the stairs, he comes out of a closet by the front door, and he goes out the front. So now, in addition to a possible carjacking that occurred during the first foot pursuit, now we got a burglary. So now the officers are tearing after him as I come around the corner with the sergeant. We both get in foot pursuit with the officers about 5-10 seconds ahead of us. And they get behind the house. The guy slips on some gravel and he falls. The Sarge jumps in with the other 3, but that's 4 on the pile. I didn't feel like I needed to get on it. And I just thought, I see body cameras all over the ground. They're coming off in the fight. So I'm just going to step back and make sure we have good video of this. We're behind a house, surrounded by a fence, and video will protect us if this guy tries to say we did anything untoward. I got more officers still running code. I got another officer screaming for EMS. We had 2 injuries in the foot pursuits. So as I'm turning to go to my shoulder mic and slow everybody down, I catch out the corner of my eye an officer standing up, and as he stands up, he kind of slaps the guy on the back of the head. I later characterize this as a cuff to the back of the head, like cuffing about the head and shoulders. What grandma would do when you were talking too loud in church, that kind of thing. And I just mentally made a note I need to ask what that was about. But that was the only strike. And it wasn't really that much of a strike, to be honest. So we get the guy in cuffs. He's fighting, spitting, doing everything. He's got a few scratches. EMS checks him, no big deal. And we're walking out. And it's like, okay, no big deal. I got to get to the hospital, see how my people are, see what's going on with the second officer. And as I'm headed back, I stopped by the office to drop my body cam and download it. I downloaded on my detective's little MDT, so I watched the video, and it's 11-inch screen. So yeah, I don't really know why he slapped him in the back of the head, so I'm gonna have to ask about that. About that time, I get in the car, the phone rings, it's the officer, and I'm like, "Hey, what'd you do that for?" And immediately says, "Oh, he was spitting. I thought he was going to spit on me." Okay, well, that's felony in South Carolina. So if you stop the felony with a Gibbs slap to the back of the head, if you're an NCIS fan, then I'm okay with that. Now, IA might want to look at it, but if that's what happened, you're fine. And pretty much that was it. They turned in their use of force that night. I got it the next day. Tried to review the video a few more times, but whatever reason, it was lost in computer cyberland. And wrote my use of force of what I had seen, my review of their use of force, and I put in there that the officer slapped him on the back of the head with a downward cuffing motion. That was the only strike I observed, and submitted it. Pretty much thought that was it. So foot pursuit was a Monday, use of force review is a Tuesday. Friday, I get a call from the sergeant saying, "Hey, they just sent the officer home." I'm like, "For what?" He's like, "I'm not really sure. I think it's the foot pursuit." I'm like, "Nah, can't be that. Maybe he got pulled over and didn't tell anybody. Maybe did he get a DUI or something and we don't know about it?" So I call IA and they won't really tell me what's going on. So I'm kind of like, well, finally come up and say it was the foot pursuit. And I'm like, well, just pull my body cam. The whole thing's on my body cam. No big deal. It's right there. So if you had any questions, nothing happened. And I figured that was kind of it. And then on Monday, I had dive training that morning. That afternoon, I went into IA and said, "Hey, you need me to give a statement?" No, we're not going to interview you. Okay, no problem. So I left, and about 7 o'clock that night, the phone rang. It was the IA lieutenant saying, "Hey, can you come in and give a statement tomorrow morning?" "Yeah, sure. I'll come in a little early. No big deal." So I go in, I give a statement. I tell everything that's in my my review of the use of force. And as we're watching the video, when he stands up, he just kind of stands there, and he's playing in the rocks. And I remember this clearly because I saw it. On the video, all you see is his knees kind of moving back and forth. And he's just piling the rocks up. And I don't really know what he was thinking or why he was doing it. I just kind of wrote it off to nervous energy. And they asked me, "What's he doing with his knees there? What's happening?" I was like, "Oh, he's just piddling around in the rocks. Nothing to it." Okay, that's it. And then I'm released back to work. I go to my office. A couple hours later, the phone rings, and I'm told, "You're on administrative leave pending investigation." And they didn't even tell me what the potential charges were or anything. I had no idea. I just knew I was under investigation. I'm like, "We don't do this. What are you talking about? You're sending a commander home?" So they sent me home. And like every officer, I start thinking about everything I've done. I'm just like, maybe something happened when I lost sight of the officers for 10 or 12 seconds as we were chasing them. Maybe something happened I don't know about. And I called an attorney that night, and he sent me a nice email a little bit about 9 o'clock at night. He sent me an email, which really surprised me. So the next morning I was in his office, and I'm talking to him, and he's like, "So are they going criminal on this?" And I'm like, "Criminal for what? Nothing happened. There's nothing there. I don't understand what this is. It's just some kind of big misunderstanding." But he's like, "I know what's going on. I've seen this happen before. Just, tells my wife to make sure she keeps an eye on me." And I leave. Don't really think much of it, except I'm not getting any notice or phone calls or anything. About 2 weeks later, the phone rings, and it's a South Carolina Law Enforcement Division agent, which is SLED. That's the big brother. That's our FBI in South Carolina. And he calls me and says, yeah, we're investigating an assault and a possible cover-up. And I'm like, cover-up? How could it be covered up? It's in my use of force. It's on my body camera. It's right there. I talk about it. And the guy's like, well, I need to get you in for an interview. And then it occurs to me, this isn't a brother in blue anymore. This is an investigator talking to a suspect. And I'm like, well, I need to talk to my attorney. And he immediately says, oh, I had no idea you had an attorney. Sorry, I called, So that investigation went for several months. And finally, I was cleared by SLED. They charged the officer with assault. That was kind of disturbing to me, but I thought, well, it's going to go to trial. He's going to say the guy was spitting, and it's not going to go anywhere. It didn't even get that far for reasons I talk about in the book. It got thrown out of court pretty quickly. But I'm just waiting for information on what's going on, what's happening. And the SLED report comes out, says Lieutenant Myers wrote a detailed explanation of what he observed. And I figured that's it. I'm going back to work. So a couple of days pass. I call internal affairs myself. I'm like, hey, can I come back to work now? I've been cleared. And they tell me, no, we just started the internal investigation. Oh, that's good. Good to know. So now they've started the internal affairs investigation. That took another 6 or 8 weeks. And then I get called and say, well, we no longer on leave without pay or leave with pay. Now you're on leave without pay. And I know what that means. And I have no idea what I've been charged with. So I go into the findings hearing, it's called, where you're not supposed to talk, but I talked. And they tell me you're charged with duty to intervene, not stopping him from kicking the rocks. And I stop and I'm like, what are you talking about? He never kicked the rocks. There were officers on top of the guy. If he'd kicked the rocks, it would have hit everybody. Never happened. Well, I was told it did. It happened. That's what they said. Well, it did. And I was charged with that, failure to supervise, and false reporting records for not reporting it. And I was terminated.
Whoa. Okay, so that is an incredible story.
Wow.
And we have a good friend who talks about when we do our workshops the same thing. It's like IA left him hanging. Am I cleared? What's going on? And all it was a conversation that needed to happen. When I put up the title of the book as part of the banner, when the blue line frays, and that was a big, that I would say that's bigger than fraying. I would say when the blue line ripped that shirt in half.
Yeah.
But we demand, the public demands perfection of us. And when it kind of gets turned around into something that it wasn't supposed to be, you start looking for, how did this even happen? So when we come back from our next break, we're going to talk about how in the world this even happens and why it continues to happen in departments around not only the U.S., but around the world. So we'll be right back after these messages, everybody. Stay tuned.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz, on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam. We are with our fine guest, Rusty Myers, Deputy Chief, whatever, whatever your title is now. But, before we left, you were telling us your 2-year leave, which I don't know if my stomach wants to throw up or I'm just angry that you know, because when we started the show, we talked about policing 30 years ago to policing now, you know, and a slap on the head is the bare minimum 30 years ago you got, you know, you got a walnut shampoo, and you know, I don't know who makes these rules up, or who, I don't know who makes these rules up sometimes, but criminals, and especially, you know, this escalated from a peeping Tom or a guy peeping into windows to a carjacking to a burglary, possible hostage situation. I mean, this had so many variables and so many twists and turns to it. You know, the cops are in a foot pursuit, and if anybody was ever in a foot pursuit, you know how pumped up you are. You know your adrenaline's going through the roof. And, you know, you just had an officer get hurt. There are so many things going through these officers' heads at this time. A slap is probably the kindest thing that happened to that guy.
And the rocks thing, which you had all on camera. So that's like the confusing, like, how do you refute the video?
How do I tell him that
evidence?
something didn't happen? How do I prove something didn't happen? Because on the video, all you can see is his knees.
Right.
Now, in my head, I see his toes playing in the rocks, making a little pile, because that's what I saw. But when I review the video, all I see is his knees are moving. But they just assumed that at some point that became the gospel that he kicked rocks on this guy.
Wow.
Oh, okay. So, he kicked rocks at this guy. Okay. Let's just say he did kick rocks, like a pissed off baseball player kicking dirt or throwing dirt or something, right? Was the guy injured by the rocks?
No, he had some bumps and bruises, but that was it. And there were 3 officers still on top of him, still struggling with him. Even though
when
he
you
was
fight,
he was still fighting. So
when you fight, you are going to have
rocks. It would have hit everybody.
Yeah. Right. So who brought this complaint? Was it the perp that brought this complaint? Was it?
This was off an internal review of the camera video footage. I don't know exactly who brought it forward. It was one of the commanders brought it forward. They watched the video and said, we need to look at this. So it was an internal complaint. The guy never filed a complaint. None of the statements. 2 of the officers were actually asked about rocks, and they say, no, I never saw rocks get kicked. The third one, they didn't ask. The suspect never mentions rocks being kicked at him. The suspect didn't even remember what happened at all. He doesn't even remember being slapped in the head.
Surprise.
You know?
Yeah.
And in his interview, he sat there and looked at the sledge and went, ooh, I'm about to get paid. You know, made his little finger motion. But
so you lost your job. And what happened to the officer? Did he lose his job as well?
He ultimately resigned. He left the police force. He went to the firefighting.
Where all fallen police officers go.
It does happen. They go, you know.
2 other officers left. One that was in the fight and the one that fell in the rape. They also left because of the way this whole thing was handled. When they saw it and said, I'm only part of this. So they lost 4 officers over this.
Now, my next biggest question is this commander who brought these charges, who reviewed this, and I'm sure every other cop is listening to this on this podcast right now is going, I bet he was never a street cop. He was probably a desk jockey for his whole life, and he probably never, or he made 1 or 2 arrests or gave parking summonses. Are we on that page?
I don't know. I struck strictly in the book to what I can document.
Okay.
I have my suspicions.
So he couldn't say it was Eric Adams from MIT who became
first thing that went through my head, Eric Adams. Yes.
Well, that's why we're partners.
And I had even told the officer when I spoke to him, I said, I might want to look at it because he did slap on the back of the head. So that didn't surprise me that I wanted to look at it. What surprised me is that no one believed him or me as to what actually happened when we told him. And I had never dealt with that. We had a new chief. The chief before that, I'd worked with him for 11 years. I had a level of trust with him, and he knew that I wasn't going to lie to him about something. And I guess that trust wasn't with the new chief, and then they just assumed that I was trying to cover something up.
Truthfully, I feel that you went above and beyond documenting it all, and even documenting the slap, because most would have said disregarded it and just said it was just a slap if there's no injury or nothing. It was just part of the fight. So you were actually, you know, you were very transparent through the whole thing.
Because I called it a cuff instead of a slap. Cuff is just defined as an open hand slap, but it was open hand, open finger. And to me, a slap is when you're trying to hurt somebody. This was more of a redirect.
Right,
so
right.
I called it a cuff.
professional sporting event with slapping.
Yeah,
slapping
same type of thing. They basically said, well, you were trying to cover it up by using language. And I said, well, then the next sentence that says, this is the only strike I observed was pretty stupid if I was trying to cover it up.
Right.
Now let's flip this for a second. What happened to the perp? Well, because of all this, were the charges dropped because of this internal investigation?
I think they ended up charging him with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest or something. It was two very minor charges.
Wow. That is amazing. So well, here we are. You're fired from a job that you love, and you're kind of floating out there wondering, what comes next. Where is your mindset in all of this?
I use the term flabbergasted in the book because I was just blown away. I was like, they're firing me for something that didn't happen. How do I prove it didn't happen?
Right.
It was shocking to me because I was a training commander. I know the policies. I wrote some of them. I had taught this stuff to rookies for years. You do it right. If you screw up, write it up, take credit for it. Somebody on command staff probably did the same thing, and here I am being told that I'm lying to them. And they also report me to the police academy. We have a centralized academy in South Carolina. It controls our certification. And they report me to the academy for misconduct, for not putting the report on paper, for not putting it in the report. I didn't put something that I didn't see and I don't believe happened in a report. So I guess ESP is a good thing to have if you're a police supervisor. So I had to fight the misconduct through the police academy. That took, in fairness to the state, something that probably would have taken 4 to 6 months was very delayed because of COVID. So it took, the better part of another year and a half before I finally had my hearings. But when you get to the final hearing, because there's a whole process there, when you get to the final hearing, it's evidence-based. And they basically looked at the rock thing and threw it out before the court case even started. They said, you can't say that. There's nothing on video. There's no evidence. No one anywhere in any of the statements talks about rocks being kicked. So that was thrown out. So then all they had was, well, he slapped him on the back of the head. I put that all in the report. So the Attorney General, the Law Enforcement Training Council is nine senior law enforcement people, including the head of SLED, the Attorney General of the state, and 7 police chiefs. And the first person to speak after the lawyers presented their case was the Attorney General. And he basically goes, this is not misconduct. Why are we here? And that phrase, why am I here, was something that had gone through my head over and over and over again when I was dealing with the dumb energy, right? I dug a pool. That's how I burned energy in the mornings. When it got too hot, I went inside, I cooled off, and then about 4 o'clock, because I'm on admin leave at the time, they can call me in for an interview anytime. Never did. I went 141 days without an official phone call from my department. Huh. But I'm out, and by 4 o'clock, I know they're not going to call. I had it down to a science, 3 shots. A fireball would put me in a loop for about 3 hours. It would turn off the loop in my head. And 4 shots made me sick. I'm not a drinker, never have been. I like donuts and ice cream for calories, not alcohol. But it was enough to at least turn my brain off for a few hours. My wife hated it. I found out a few weeks ago. She told my parents. I had no idea my parents even knew until they read the book. And it was tough is not the right word. It was absolutely devastating to me to just be thrown away like garbage.
Especially when from your perspective and what your eyes saw, you're being victimized by a department that you gave so much to over something that was beyond your control that you didn't see, and everything that you've done through all these years of service are being just wiped away. I can't imagine that feeling.
It didn't matter, and it was just. I mean, how do you prove something didn't happen? I still, to this day, I don't believe he kicked rocks. I never saw it, but I don't believe he did, because if he had, he'd hit the other officers that were still on top of the guy.
Yeah, and it all comes down to video. You put together based upon the evidence that you have, which is put all the videos together. That's why we have body cameras, and then if there's nothing definitive, you don't just make it up. At least you're not supposed to do that. So here we have a department IA ruin your career, you get fired, and you're now having to move on. And, you know, you talk about the drinking. And as we go into our next break, when we come back, let's talk about how you regrouped and how you moved on. You're an officer, a chief, a deputy chief now, and how you rebuilt and how you use that message of, you know, leading yourself and always being a leader to inspire others through your book. So we will be right back. Stay tuned.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam with Deputy Chief Rusty Myers. Man, this has been an epic episode so far, just discussing this roller coaster that you're on. And I know we want to get into the book. I just have to ask you, now that you know, that 2-year hiatus, right? You are now the deputy chief, right? When you go to work now, do you still have that fear in the back of your head? Do you police any different? Or is there that little thing in the back? Is like, I don't want this to happen again. Is that fear still there?
No. And I have this conversation with my officers. You know, I want you to work. I want you to do the job right. If you screw up, tell me, we'll fix it. Like I said, there's very little you can do that's new in law enforcement. Somebody else has done it, and they're probably on command staff at this point. But I see the fear in other officers because a lot of people knew what was happening. And, you know, they brought up the optics of the situation. And I was like, well, we own the video. In South Carolina, we don't have to, body-worn cameras aren't foilable. So the only optics are the ones in the station. And it was, it just, to me mentally, it was absolutely the most devastating thing I've ever dealt with. And I got to some very low places. You know, the reason I have the hats behind me, I had a plan to end myself. I had a very detailed plan. And one day I was in the yard and my wife asked me what I wanted for lunch, and I bit her head off because, you know, when there's no one else to be angry at, you're angry at the one closest to you. And she just stopped and looked at me and put her hands on her hips, cocked that little hip to the side and said, Rusty Myers, you better do something before you do something stupid. You better.
Southern charm.
Absolutely. And as I sat there, I started thinking, you know, she don't know what she's talking about. I've been through all these classes. You know, I went to mental resiliency and mind armor and probably a half a dozen others. And I did what we all do. I played on my phone. But all those classes end with a checklist. And there's a checklist and there's things to look out for in your officers. And that's what it's intended for. It's for supervisors to look out for these things. And as I sat there in my head, I start pulling that checklist into my brain. I'm thinking, check that, check that, check that, check that. I checked every box except the illegal drug use. And the big one at the bottom is always has a plan. And I was like, you know, I have a plan. I'm going to go out to Bulow Boat Landing where my dive team had just finished some training. It was a ton of fun. We'd just done our swift water stuff. It was the last great day, happened about 2 weeks before the incident. It was a great time. It was the last time I was truly super proud to be a cop. And I was going to surround myself with my hats, all the hats I wore in life when I was trusted. And when I realized how detailed my plan was, I knew I needed to talk to somebody. And that was the day I called and got counseling help and found out that there was a lot more to it. You know, I talk about a PTSI backpack that we all carry in law enforcement, and every call we go on, we throw a grain of sand in there. And sometimes we throw a pebble. Sometimes we throw a rock. Well, this was a boulder. It landed in a backpack that already had 23 years of stuff in it, you know. and it exploded. It exploded. And about my third counseling appointment, the counselor sits back in his chair and kind of goes, "You've told me all about this incident, but there's a lot more here. What do you dream about?" And he had me. I was like, "Well, I dream about this, and I dream about this." We had Mother Emanuel. We had the Charleston 9 firefighters, and I knew 5 of them. One of them had married a girl in my squad. And I had a really good friend of mine get killed in line of duty. I had some friends who killed themselves. I had a lot of stuff in my backpack that was now tumbling out in counseling, and that's where I got help. And that's the reason I wrote this book, is because as a police officer, the toughest calls are the ones you're not prepared for. They're the ones where you're getting out of the car at a gas station to go to the bathroom and there's a robbery in progress, or you're round the corner and there's a guy who just got hit by a car right in front of you. Those are the hardest calls to deal with, because you don't have those few minutes of training or a few minutes to get your head straight before you walk into it.
You go from 0 to 100. You go from 0 to 100 in a split second.
Can't think. Yeah, you can't think. And it's just this. That's what happened with this incident. I walked into something that I was completely unprepared for and had no idea how to handle it, no idea what to do. And I was a training guy. So when I was in training, it was always, what can we learn from this? Good or bad, what can we learn? So I joked about it years ago about writing a book about what I went through. And then, after 4 or 5 years, I got to the point where I was ready to relive it and go through it again. And that's when I started putting the book together.
Well, thank you so much for doing that, because it is a fantastic read. It's called Tattered: When the Blue Line Frays. And it is real. It is raw. And the points that you make, I mean, it'll really make you sit up and take notice. And it's still, even though, we read before you came on about your story, to listen to you tell it again was just like, it's like, how much more do you guys need? It's like you're draining this guy of his blood, and there's not going to be anything left. And the fact that you realize, hey, well, your wife helped, that you need to get help, and you are at a command level where you can tell all of your troopers, like, this is real, this is life, stick with the profession, let's just get you some help.
Yeah, they knew about it before I wrote the book, because I'm very open about it, that I got counseling and it helped me. You joked earlier about that sounds like the blue line fell apart. The original title of the book was Tattered: When the Blue Line Fails. But as I wrote it, and I started talking about the people who supported me outside of my family, who was there the whole time. I had a retired police officer. I had a couple of current police officers. I had, a retired military veteran. I had a good friend who had been a Berkeley County officer years and years ago. And I started to realize my pastor was a retired cop, which was great because I could really, really unload with him. I started to realize that there were members of the Blue Line that didn't fail. And I felt like that title couldn't apply. It frayed, no doubt. My leadership, my department, it felt that part failed. But when it came down to it, there were a few people that kept me together and kept the line together and supported me through it. And it ultimately ended up, hiring me a day after I was cleared. I got a full no misconduct, which is kind of unheard of. My lawyer had been preparing me on the whole trip up. We're going to lose. Chiefs side with Chiefs. Don't let it surprise you. But when the attorney general said what he did, why are we here? This is not misconduct. I kind of sat up, because my lawyer said, don't let anything show in your face. Well, I'm not going to hide my emotions. And I kind of sat up and said, wait a minute, now that sounded good. And sure enough, I ended up with a no misconduct, go back to work tomorrow type of thing.
Well, so that's when you have stand-up people that have a moral compass that can see with their own eyes. It is amazing. Through all of this, John and I are coffee people. Don't know if you're a coffee guy, but through all of this, all right, a lot of coffee was probably consumed.
Probably way too much.
Yeah, John and our favorite is East Texas Legends Coffee Company. Ben and Amanda Holmes. We are partnered with them. It reflects their journey from Ben's Marine Corps service and law enforcement career, overcoming post-traumatic stress to finding purpose in ranching. Relocating to an East Texas ranch, they identified a need for a local coffee brand. Now they're opening their first coffee shop in Lindale, Texas, rooted in faith, family, and community. Their mission: inspire purposeful conversations over coffee. So drink coffee, be legendary. Go to etxlegendscoffee.com. Use promo code BADGE for 15% off coffee and merchandise. Here's back to hot, because it was only 85 degrees today. So back to hot coffee in the, when it gets close to 100, I got to do the ice. But John has his air conditioner that blasts on him. Yeah. So, something about Ben and Amanda, I'm just so blessed. Not only have we been partnered with them for a long time, I get to see them every month. The shop's not far away. It's still being worked on. It's not quite open yet. But these people have a heart of gold for not only for law enforcement, but those organizations that give back. And so if you want great coffee that is not bitter, because there's so much crap coffee out there, etxlegendscoffee.com. They will ship to you directly. Diablo, highly recommend it. So, get some coffee. So, Chief Rusty, how do people get in contact with you? How do people get the book? Where do we go?
I just want to ask one question before we jump into that, Sam. One, I want to commend you, because me and Sam have met a lot of chiefs, a lot of upper law enforcement personnel. And I think we could probably count on both hands how many have opened up like yourself about that to their people that are under them, that they command. And I that takes a lot of courage for a command officer. So believe me,
absolutely,
I want to commend you for doing that. That takes a lot of bravery, and that's probably the best thing you've done in law enforcement, because you opened up those mental health doors to every officer under your command. God bless you for that. Two, journaling. When you started writing in mental health, I just wrote an article on journaling for the blues. When you wrote this book, I know there was painful parts, but did the journaling help you heal a little bit from that?
I think it did. I didn't realize it at the time, but even just talking about it, doing the podcast and stuff like this has really kind of helped me work through even more of it. Journaling was what my counsel, we did some EMDR, but the journaling was what I really felt helped me get stuff out. I wrote 17 handwritten pages on the night that my friend was killed, and my hand was about to fall off. But when we sat there and we read through it and I was able to talk through it all with him, it was amazing how much it helped me to get that on paper. And I used to dream about that about once a week, and then it went to once a month. And now I can honestly tell you, I don't remember the last time I had that dream.
Wow.
So it was very powerful for me.
Yeah. All right.
So the best way to get in touch with me, my website is rusty-myers.com. There's a link on there. The book's on Amazon, Tattered When the Blue Line Frays. My email's on the website, and I'll make you this promise. If you're an officer and you're going through this, I know what it's like to have to eat not even Pop-Tarts. We had to buy Toastums, right? Toastums and hot dogs is all we could afford. And $7.99 for the Kindle version might be a bit much. If you need this book, I will get it in your hands. I don't care about making money off it. I kind of feel like I've already had one officer who's told me that the book might have saved their life, which was my goal, right? But now I'm greedy. Now I want 2. Now I want 3, because we kill each other. We kill ourselves 5 times more than the bad guys do. And that's unacceptable. And if there's anything, any legacy I leave in law enforcement, I want it to be this, that I went through it. I survived. It sucked. Okay? I'm a man of faith. My faith was so ugly during this, right? I just couldn't understand why God was doing what he's doing. But now looking back, I see how I ended up where I am today. I see the plan. But when you're in the midst of the storm, all you see is rain. And that's all I saw. And if you're in that area, let me know. I'll get the book to you. Hopefully it gives you some encouragement, because I'm tired of us killing ourselves. We've got to stop it.
Well, thank you so much. And my dog Maisie is very excited about it. She introduced herself to everybody, and thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being open and honest and putting it all out there for.
And I'm ordering the book. I'm ordering the book right now.
everybody to read. And yeah, because we got the undercover version before the show, so we appreciate that. And look, Chief put it out there. If you need to talk to him, go on the website again, rusty-myers.com. For everybody listening on their favorite podcast app, rusty-myers, MYERS.com. Reach out to him. He is there, happy to help. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thanks, sir.
And telling your story. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. We will
God bless you, Rusty. Take care.
God bless y'all too.
Keep up the good work.
All right. I love it. The story is great. Everything, how he came back, he talks about his mindset, because, again, real. Yeah. This is not fluff. This is not, oh, I'm a tough guy. Like, everything, it's out there. And so we can all learn from it. We have got so many amazing things. I think Maisie sent my book flying when she jumped in the camera frame here. We've got so many amazing partners, and from books to events, avail yourself to them so you can learn, be a leader to yourself, be a better officer, be a better first responder, be a better wife, husband, wherever you are in your life. And our friends at Operation Angel Wing, they are doing, with our partners that Carry the Load, a prayer walk and community fundraising event on August 8th. So that is coming up in Norris, Tennessee. So, hey, first responders in and around Tennessee, and get on out there, because there's something truly remarkable about the power of prayer, its ability to transform hearts, strengthen communities, and bring people together in faith, hope, and purpose, walking in solidarity with one another while lifting intentional prayers for our families, communities, nation, and those who serve. So get on out there. That's August 8th, and you can go to Operation Angel Wing, or opaw.org, and get more details about that. So it is going to be a fantastic time in Tennessee on August 8th. Skipping to September, we have got a lot going on in September. September 21st, our friends at Sierra Delta, BJ Ganem, is having his golf tournament. So it's all about service dogs. So go to sierradelta.org to get more and to connect directly with BJ. And September 25th and 26th, we are taking over Allen, Texas, with our friends from the 100 Club on X, TexasTakeover100.com. It is all about living at 100%, doing everything that you need to do. And maybe it's a learning journey, because maybe you don't have everything in your toolbox. So come out, meet amazing people that are coming in from all across the U.S. TexasTakeover100.com. We will be there. Even Maisie says come. So she's saying come on out, everybody.
I understood that.
Yeah, TexasTakeover100.com. Grab your tickets there. And let's see, on September 28th through October 2nd, Liz and Joe Bartholomew, our friends at Responders Retreat, they have their retreat in 3 Lakes, Wisconsin. There are only a few spaces left. The dogs are in rare form today, folks. Sorry about that.
You know what? I'm commending you right now, Sam, because it's so hard to concentrate when the dogs are going nuts around you.
And they are. At least I only got the one kiss, but they're running all over the place, and it's a small place right now. So Responders Retreat in 3 Lakes, Wisconsin. If you've never seen Northern Lights, I mean, you can see it from right there. It is phenomenally amazing. Joe sends me pictures all the time. So get with Liz and Joe, First Responders Retreat .org. Okay. And First Responders Retreat.org. Secure your space. We want to thank Rusty for coming on tonight again, being so real, telling his story, It is going to heal so many. Go grab his book, Rusty-Myers, MYERS.com. You can also find it on Amazon. To all of our first responders out there, thank you for what you do every single day. You've got prayer warriors praying for your safe return home from your shift, whichever shift that is. And keep doing it. Keep standing strong. Keep supporting each other, because you need to do that. We need to have each other's backs. To all of our veterans out there, fought the good fight, thank you for the fight and the grit and the determination and your courage that allows John and I to do a show like this every single week. To all of our uniformed personnel that's on active duty, and it got hot in the early part of the morning. Not temperature hot. I'm talking regionally hot. If you're paying attention to the social media and some of the news. So please, you've got prayer warriors. Stay safe. Thank you for what you are doing. Thank you for keeping our shores safe here at home. John, take us home.
Just want to give a big shout out to the Peace Officers Angels Foundation. Yesterday, I attended the event for the Rangers and Astros baseball game. Met some amazing first responders from all over the state of Texas who were out there for First Responder Appreciation Day. God bless you all. God bless the Peace Officers Angel Foundation for doing what you do for our officers and keeping that good fight up. Had a great day, and I want to thank you on my behalf. And until next week, peace.
See you next week, everybody.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.